Hi, I'm Gergely Fried, founder of Everyman Justice. This podcast is about family court support in England and Wales. The reality of what parents face, the people trying to help them, and the role McKenzie Friend plays within the wider family justice system. Today, I'm joined by Rosie Taylor, founder of McKenzie Friend of the Children. Rosie is a child arrangement specialist based in Bolton with a very unusual background in neuroscience, medicine, and surgery before moving into the family court support. In this episode, I want to explore Rosie's journey, her approach to helping parents, and some bigger questions about McKenzie Friends, regulation, standards, Cafcass, AI, and the future of the sector. I think your background is really interesting because it's not the usual route into family court support, so I would like to start with you and your own journey. Can you introduce yourself properly, your background, your work, and the kind of child arrangement cases you mainly support?
Absolutely. So my name is Rosie Taylor. I work in family law, but I specialise in children matters of two types. Public and private law. The vast majority of my cases are disputes in private law over contact, residence, holiday arrangements, occasionally relocation, and then I get a smaller number of cases where it relates to social services, and sadly social services have got serious concerns about child welfare, and it can go as far as court proceedings, or it can be a lesser level of social services involvement such as a protection plan, which is still a very serious matter where I'm there to support parents.
You come from Cambridge, medicine and surgery. How has that shaped your mindset as a McKenzie Friend?
Started at Churchill College, Cambridge. Churchill is one of the new colleges. It's not like one like King's where they've got the beautiful architecture. Churchill, I believe, was built in the 60s. So I started at Churchill College in 1994, studying medicine, and I actually did very well. There were 304, I'm blowing my own trumpet a bit now, but there were 314 students in the year, and I came top in physiology of the entire university, and then I came top in my neuroscience masters as well. So I got triple first and a distinction. I did really well at it. And then I made the decision after my junior doctor year to go into neurosurgery, and I actually specialised in neurocritical care, which is, I guess you could view it as like a coma ward. So we dealt with a lot of young people, a lot of boy racers, horse jockeys, because we were near Newmarket. So we dealt with jockeys who'd had accidents. And it was absolutely fascinating, to be honest. Fascinating being on neurocritical care. But having said that, I would say medicine overall wasn't for me. What basically happened was I had a mum, for some reason, who had this kind of arbitrary obsession with medicine. I'm not quite sure where it came from, because she wasn't a doctor herself. She just had 2 CSEs, but she was kind of hell-bent on me being a doctor, and I kind of got strong-armed into it, and my heart was never really in it. I did enjoy neurocritical care. I also enjoyed accident and emergency because I like fast-paced medicine, but overall it just wasn't for me. And in the end, I think it was around 2006, I walked away. I went up to Manchester University to do some academic research in neuroscience for a bit. And then after that, I set my own business up. So my heart was never in it, to be honest. It was just something that I kind of got strong-armed into, unfortunately.
You have a great academic background. Why McKenzie Friend of the Children? What message are you trying to send with that name?
I think it's a good name. I like the name. And the message that I'm trying to send is somewhat unusual because, as you know, a McKenzie Friend is there to support a litigant in person. But I actually view my customer as the child as much as the adult. What motivates me, McKenzie Friend for me is a vocation. If I was all about money, I'd still be a surgeon because it's a 6-figure salary. For me, it's about what's best for a child. Now, sometimes you get cases where there's a massive disconnect between what's best for the child and what is best for what your client wants. Now, I've got a clause, an ethics clause in my contracts that says if I come across a parent who is not prioritising child welfare, I can terminate the contract without liability and immediate effect. And that's what I do. One of the good things about being self-employed is you can pick and choose your customers. And I'm not prepared to deal with people who aren't putting child welfare first. So I would say the message that I'm trying to send is, yes, I'm there to support a litigant in person, but for me, it's a vocation. When I first started as a McKenzie Friend, I didn't even charge. I didn't charge a penny until the pandemic. And then COVID came along. The sector I was working in disappeared overnight. So I lost my business. So at that point, I was forced to charge because, like everyone, I've got bills to pay. But when I started in 2015, up until the pandemic, I was working completely free of charge. I just wanted to do it on a voluntary basis to help other people.
That is amazing to doing voluntary. So let's move from your personal journey to a bigger questions. Why McKenzie Friends are needed at all? Why do McKenzie Friends exist in the first place? Is the family court system now too expensive for ordinary parents?
I would say the family courts are extortion. Well, it's a combination of two things, isn't it? It's the fact that the lawyers' fees are extortionate, £350 an hour plus VAT. I mean, you might as well get all of that money and put it on a bonfire because at least it would keep you warm. I don't know how these lawyers sleep at night. And then also you've got the aspect of legal aid. And there's been cutbacks in legal aid funding. And so it's a smaller and smaller number of people who can get that free assistance. And so I don't agree with legal aid cutbacks, and I don't agree with people who charge £400 an hour. I think it's ludicrous.
Yes, it is. What can a good McKenzie Friend offer to solicitor may not always have the time to offer?
Emotional support, and one thing that I do, which solicitors don't do, and I don't know why solicitors don't do it because it's so crucial, is I run Cafcass masterclasses. And I actually do the masterclass. If I have a long-term customer, the masterclass gets offered free of charge. It's complimentary Cafcass masterclass. I don't know why solicitors don't do it because, as I'm sure you'd agree, the way to win or lose a case is to impress Cafcass. You've got to get things right with Cafcass because if you don't, it's very difficult, even with a top hotshot barrister, to win a case. So I think sitting down with a customer, explaining the legal framework like the child welfare checklist, I think it's very, very important. And it's something that I've noticed that solicitors just don't do.
Do you think that are poor quality or even come McKenzie Friend who take advantage of the vulnerable peoples? And if there are some, what are the red flags should parents look for?
Absolutely, there's con artist McKenzie Friends. It's like the Wild West, unfortunately. I could name names, but I'm not prepared to name names. But well, I can name the name David Bright, who you may have heard of. I mean, the guy got sent to jail, didn't he? But at the moment, there are McKenzie Friends out there, quite big names, who are just con artists. They're just tricksters. And I think it's absolutely awful because it gives all McKenzie Friends a bad name. When people, because I've been through family court myself as the mother of a disabled child, and when I went through family court, it was back in 2015, and I was in a very nervous, vulnerable position, just the type of person who can easily get tricked by a con artist. I was lucky because it never happened to me, but I do come across a lot of customers who have been conned, and it's disgusting. It's just awful.
Yes.
What red flags should the parents look for? I would say the main red flag is anyone who wants to take a large quantity of money up front, because I've heard so many cases where parents are paying out thousands of pounds up front, which is just unnecessary. And then all of a sudden the McKenzie Friend either does very poor shoddy work or just disappears off the face of the earth, and they're left with no support whatsoever.
This is really useful information for people. I agree absolutely that McKenzie Friend needs to be transparent with their fees, and that's bring us naturally to standards. So, because if the parents cannot easily tell who is a good or who is not, the question becomes whether networks, organizations, or regulation can help. Do you belong to any McKenzie Friend organization or network, and do you think that is matter?
I'm on two websites. Find a McKenzie Friend, which is run by a lovely gentleman called Prince Dominic, and then I'm also on the UK McKenzie Friend network, who's run by someone called Philip Kedge. Phil Kedge is a retired police chief inspector. If you go to YouTube, he has his own channel. He's nicknamed the Godfather of McKenzie Friends, and he really is an exceptionally bright man. And the thing about Philip Kedge's network, it's very good how he set it all up. Phil Kedge is very, very selective about who goes on the network. And once you're on the network, if you don't perform, you're kicked off the network pretty quick. He doesn't suffer fools gladly. So I think something like that's good, because anyone on his network, they have a good reputation because he only chooses the best of the best. Now, with Find a McKenzie Friend, that's run by Prince Dominic, I'm actually the complaints investigator, because there's a 5-star review system on there. And if there's any 1-star reviews, the case is handed to me to have a good look and work out whether it's just a malicious review without merit, or we've got a McKenzie Friend who's not performing. I think the feedback system on Find a McKenzie Friend is absolutely brilliant, because it helps any litigant in person see the number of star recommend. I mean, I think we all do that nowadays. If you want a builder, you want a handyman or something, you go straight to the internet and look at the number of stars. So I find the star rating on Find a McKenzie Friend very helpful.
Well, this is the two biggest organization. Maybe we can mention also the Society of McKenzie Friends.
I don't know very much about the Society of McKenzie Friends.
Do you think that McKenzie Friend should be regulated, or would regulation risk making affordable support to disappear?
Well, there's two types of McKenzie Friends, isn't there? There's when it's a friend or family member who's not professional, they're just there to support their friend or family member. And then there's the fee charging, which I am. Well, I don't charge for all my cases, but I charge for the majority. I think anyone who's taking money should be regulated to a high standard, because like you said earlier, there's confidence tricks to McKenzie Friends, and they really need to be out the system, the confidence tricksters. So yeah, it should be regulated, and there should be comeback for parents if a McKenzie Friend performs poorly, just in the way that if a solicitor performs poorly, it can be referred to the SRA. There should be a body that oversees McKenzie Friends, and if a McKenzie Friend is seriously underperforming, then there should be a governing body to investigate that.
Mm-hmm. Regulation is one side of this discussion, but the other issue is that number of new people entering to this sector, often after their own family court experience. What do you think about new McKenzie Friends entering to the market?
I think as many new McKenzie Friends as possible should be welcomed. However, there should be stipulations, they should be DBS checked, they should be registered with the Information Commissioner's Office, and most importantly, they should be trained. I've been trained a couple of times now, and I have to say the training that I got from Philip Kedge at the UK McKenzie Friend Network, it was really excellent. It got me started. I also am a mentor for the Find a McKenzie Friend website, and I will speak very highly of their training programme as well. Before Phil Kedge, I went on a training programme with another body, and I won't name them, and it was dreadful. It was a total waste of time. So it's good that there's people out there like Find a McKenzie Friend and UK McKenzie Friend Network who are delivering very high quality training.
So do you think that it should be a minimum that they need to learn before they're taking money?
I would say I would find that very difficult to enforce. I don't know how you could enforce that. Perhaps you'd have to sit an exam or something, like a theory test, prior to taking money.
Yeah. Do you think that a personal family court experience makes someone a better McKenzie friend, or can it also make them biased and too emotional driven?
Exactly like the question says. I've come across McKenzie Friends, and I would say the majority of McKenzie Friends who've been through the system themselves, that only enhances their ability to assist litigants in person. They have more empathy, they have an understanding of how stressful it is and what type of support that they would have wanted when they went through the system.
I agree. This is a very important point. Personal experience can create empathy, but it can also bring strong emotions and probably affect the style of support people give. There are some McKenzie Friends too aggressive, and there are some too passive. Which one causes more harm?
Well, when I was a doctor, we had a saying, do no harm. I would say a passive McKenzie Friend who sits in court and says nothing, okay, they're useless because they're taking money for nothing, but they're not damaging the case. They're just useless. They're not damaging the case. An aggressive McKenzie Friend, on the other hand, can do a lot of damage, especially if they become aggressive with judges, because my experience of judges is they don't like anyone becoming aggressive in their courtroom. So I would say aggressive McKenzie Friends can do far more damage. And I've come across one particular very aggressive McKenzie Friend who I won't name, and they don't seem to understand the concept that a McKenzie Friend is a layperson who doesn't give legal advice. They view themselves as like a pound shop lawyer. They view themselves as like I don't know how you would view it really, just a very aggressive lawyer who's like watched too many episodes of Law and Order UK. You really don't need someone like that in court, because that's not the ethos of what a McKenzie Friend is.
Okay, let's bring this back now to the parents themselves, because most people entering family court and are not thinking about regulation or sectors. They are scared, emotional, and often they are trying to protect their relationship with their children. What are the biggest mistakes parents make in child arrangement cases?
Biggest mistake occurs before the child arrangement case even begins. Courts are not good places for children. And prior to court, parents can discuss things informally. If that fails, they can go to out-of-court mediation. And I get a lot of customers who phone up looking for a McKenzie Friend, and they've not yet filed the C100. And when I get customers like that, I advise them in no uncertain terms, do everything you can at the mediation stage to engage and try and get a result without court. I mean, from a point of view of earning money, that's not great advice to give, because then I don't earn a penny. And I say to them, go away and come back in like a few weeks' time if mediation fails. But I have to put emphasis on the best outcome for your children is to settle at mediation. That's what all the research shows. So I would say the biggest mistake any parent makes is not settling informally or at the mediation stage. Once you've got into the court arena, that's not a good place for any child, really. So that's the biggest mistake. But once they get into the court arena, they're not child focused. They might be focused on their own agenda. Another one is very poor communication. In this day and age, people communicate nowadays because I'm 50. My son nicknames me an old dinosaur, which I am. And nowadays people, they interact very differently from when I was young. So when I was young, we all interacted verbally, but now there's text messages, there's social media messages, and the thing about that is text messages and Facebook posts can all be screenshot and saved and put in front of a judge. So one mistake that a lot of parents make is they start sharing information on Facebook about confidential legal matters or slandering their ex-partner all over Facebook publicly, or they might send threatening text messages. I mean, I've dealt with some horrible cases where people have been threatening to kill the other person on text. That's not a very wise move because that text in black and white can be put in front of a judge. So I would say that that's a big problem when people get behind the computer keyboard without thinking and start sending aggressive messages. I think as well as that, I think some parents don't document things carefully enough, and I think especially if you're considering a breach of a contact order, you need documentation of when the breach is, what, you know, the nature of it, because the courts will be looking for all that information. I think another one is when parents have unrealistic expectations. So I've dealt with parents who might be estranged from a child for months and months. They've not seen the child, and then they turn up and they always say, I'm going for full custody. Obviously, we don't even use the terminology custody nowadays, but that's the phrase that they'll come out with. I hate my ex, I'm going for full custody. And it's completely unrealistic. It's not going to happen. Philip Kedge, he has his own campaign called the Campaign of Light and Not Hate. And I've signed up to Phil Kedge's Light and Not Hate campaign because when the parents have got a choice when they go into the court system. They can either settle things amicably, as amicably as possible and in the best interests of the child, or it can just be a hatred. And it doesn't work because it's not great for children when you've got two parents at loggerheads. So I would say those were the biggest mistakes.
I can agree 100%. That should be the major point. Amicably sorted out the things. That's the best for the children. Let's jump a little bit about what should parents understand before they speaking to Cafcass?
I run a Cafcass masterclass, which is very popular, and I do it free of charge actually for all of my customers, and I tailor it to a specific case. The main thing that I focus on regarding Cafcass is the child welfare checklist, which you might be aware is just 7 points, the child welfare checklist. It's not in legalese. You don't need to be a lawyer to read it and understand it. And what I normally do is I normally go through the welfare checklist with my customer, explaining the context of each of the 7 elements. So that I think that that's the most important bit. And I think not to denigrate your ex, and I always prepare customers with a few questions that might be asked. For example, there is a And all, as well as the Section 7, there's an initial safeguarding phone call, and I've actually got the script for that. I found it once on the internet. It's no longer on the internet, but I downloaded it because someone did a Freedom of Information request. So I always give my customers the script at no additional cost. So yeah, I think there's quite a lot that parents need to understand before speaking to Cafcass, because Cafcass are very powerful, and now Pathfinder has come out. They've become even more powerful than what they were. So it's essential that when parents speak to Cafcass, they get it right.
Yes, that brings us to the bigger future question. Parents need support now, but what they support is delivered may change a lot over the next few years, especially with AI regulation and more public awareness of McKenzie Friend. What do you think McKenzie Friend sector is going in the next 5 to 10 years, especially with the regulation and AI and public trust?
Well, AI, to be honest, at the moment, AI is the bane of my life. I was up last night until 11:30 p.m. at night and then up again at 6 this morning because a customer at the very last minute gave me a statement which looked like AI. So I turned around and said, "Have you used ChatGPT on this?" And they said, "Yes." And to someone who's untrained, it all looks very good and very official. But for someone like me who's a McKenzie friend, I think these AI statements are just a load of rubbish. And they get incorrect case law. It's called AI hallucinations, where the case law is just completely incorrect. Another concern with AI is it's open source. So if you're feeding confidential private data about a case into AI, it's not confidential, which is a concern, a large cause for concern. So I can't stand AI. I don't think it's helping. Perhaps it will help in 5 or 10 years as it becomes more sophisticated, because AI is developing quickly and becoming more and more sophisticated. So perhaps it will get better. Well, it's inevitable that it will get better. But at the moment, I think AI is more of a hindrance than a help, actually.
I believe AI is a great tool, but you need to know exactly how to use it. That's the only way when you can confidently use it in a case.
It's funny you say that, because I actually had one customer who worked in AI. That was his job, to work in AI. And I obviously make money by editing and polishing people's statements. But he said, "I want to write my own statement, and then you can polish it for extra money." And the statement he wrote, I couldn't, and if I'd have made any alterations to that statement, it would have been worse. The statement that he came out with was perfect. So I do think if you've got someone who really knows how to work AI, you can get incredible results. The problem is someone like me, a technophobe, I've no idea how to work AI. And if you feed a load of rubbish into an AI program, then it's going to spit out a load more rubbish at the end. But it's very interesting because I'm fascinated by the rise of artificial intelligence. It's a fascinating subject. There's something called the technological singularity, which is a theoretical point at which machines will outsmart man. And Elon Musk, who's a very bright man, he thinks that's coming pretty soon. So AI is advancing quickly, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the future. But I don't believe McKenzie Friends will be out of a job. I think we might get to the stage where more and more statements are done by AI because parents want to save a bit of money. But ultimately, AI cannot sit next to you in a court of law. AI cannot provide moral support or take notes in a court. So I don't think as a McKenzie Friend it's going to put me out of a job. It fascinates me, artificial intelligence, and I will be intrigued to see how things develop.
It's fascinating, yes.
It is.
What would you like people to remember about your approach as a McKenzie Friend of the children?
That's a really good question. It's something that I've not thought before. Just that I'm unique, and for me, it's a vocation, and it's important that they understand that I view the child as much of a customer as the adult, and it's very important that they understand that. The other thing that they should understand is that I'll always help people who are on universal credit or low income. I'll always do my best to help out people like that, because I've done so much voluntary work, and I just want to help others, really. If I could, I'd do it for free for everyone, but I've got bills to pay and a disabled son to look after, so that's not viable. So I guess that's what I'd want people to think, is that I'm someone who's unique.
Thank you, Rosie. I think that is a really useful place to finish because it's bring together main reason for this podcast, helping parents understand what support exists, how to choose carefully, and how to stay focused on the child during difficult proceedings. I really appreciate your sharing your experience.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you for listening to Everyman Justice podcast. I'm Gergely Fried, founder of Everyman Justice. A big thank you for Rosie Taylor for joining me and sharing her experience, her views on child arrangements work, and her thoughts on McKenzie Friend sector. The conversation are here to help parents better understand the family court support landscape, what help exists, what to be careful about, and how to stay focused on the child during difficult proceedings. This episode is a general discussion, not legal advice on any individual case. If your case is urgent, complex, or involves serious safeguarding issues, please consider getting proper legal advice. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode of Everyman Justice podcast.